الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كل نفس ذائقة الموت قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لما قضى الله الخلق كتب في كتابه على نفسه فهو موضوع عنده إن رحمتي تغلب غضبي. I want to begin by welcoming everybody with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on all of you. I'm going to start off by giving an example. I use this example quite a lot, quite often. But all of us are here right now. We know where we are. We're at Trent University program. Not as big as Nottingham University program. Alhamdulillah. So we know where we are. But imagine in this split second, with a blink of an eye, you suddenly find yourself in a different place. A very strange place. A place that you didn't recognize. You were here one moment, and the next moment you're somewhere else. What would be going through your mind? What would you be thinking about? What's going to be the first questions in your head? You're going to be thinking, this is the opportunity, it's time to party, it's time to chill, let's go out, let's see what else got thrown in this place. You're going to think, yo, let me go and explore, let me go and find out what's happening. Or are you going to be thinking other things, more important questions? Like, what am I doing here? Like, I was at Trent Prayer Room and now I'm in a strange place that I don't even recognize. What's my purpose for being in this strange place? Where am I going to go after? These are the vital questions that you must ask if you fall into that situation. And this example of the strange place, if you apply that to your lives in this dunya, what would you ask? What would you say? Think about it. You open your eyes in this dunya, when you have the capability to ask yourself, how did I get here? What am I doing? What am I doing here? Where am I going to go? These three questions are the most vital questions that every person must ask. The three vital questions. And this year, the Islamic Society has discussed how did we get here. We discussed proof of God. This year, the Islamic Society has discussed what are we doing here, purpose of life. But the third part, where are we going? Where am I going? And this is what I want to discuss today. The journey of where am I going? And I want to discuss the beginning parts of that journey, which begins with death and takes us to the grave, inshallah. So death is a reality. It's something that's unavoidable. It's a fact. And the ayah which I recited in the beginning, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ, every soul shall taste death. It's a fact. It's a fact. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-mawtu haq," that death is a truth. It's a truth that none of us can escape. And we know death is a truth. We know it from Quran and Sunnah. But we also know it from reality. We all have seen death. We've seen it face to face, close. We've seen our family members pass away. Put your hands up if someone you know close to you has passed away. Most of us. We see death face to face. We see it on the news. We see it all around us. We hear janazah day after day after day after day. It's a fact. It's a reality. And Al-Hasan al-Basri, he says something really interesting about this. He says, this issue of death is such a fact, there's no doubt in it, it's a matter that is certain, yet people's reaction to it is so strange. This reality, this fact, our reaction to it is so strange. We treat it as though it's something doubtful. Or maybe it's going to happen, or maybe it will happen. Oh, let's forget about it. Even though it's hitting you in your face, even though you see it on a daily basis, this issue of death, it's like a doubtful matter to you. And Al-Hasan al-Basri said, this is the most strangest thing. The thing that is the most definite, the most certain, you deal with as though it's doubtful. As though it has uncertainty in it. And why is that the case? That this is what we must ask ourselves. Now ask yourselves about all those things in your life that are not definite. All those things in your life where the outcome is not definite. So many of you guys obviously at uni, your degrees. Day and night to get that degree. The most prized and cherished thing for you. How many hours are you putting in for that dissertation? Obviously, If you're in your first year, you're probably not doing much, you know. But if you're in your third year, you're probably losing here. Because you're putting those hours in. You're in the library, in the Boots library. Yeah, you're there till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You're putting your assignment in. You're putting it on time. But what's the outcome? Are you sure about the outcome? Will you get the result that you want? Maybe. Maybe. What about your careers? After you go from university, the natural step, careers. Yeah? Whether you want to be an accountant, like the Pakistani brother here, the Somalian brother there, whether you want to go into banking, whether you want to become a lawyer, so you can work out how to get out of prison. Yeah? What's going to be your career? You're going to put so much effort into it, but you don't know what's going to be your career progression. You could be stuck at the lowest level, or you could go to the top. But it's a doubtful matter. You don't know. But what about death? What's your preparation for death? How much effort are you putting for death? How many hours are you putting in to work towards death? The most certain thing in your life, what is your response towards it? This is what I want you guys to think about today. This is what I want you guys to think about maybe. How many hours, what's the effort, what's the preparation I'm making for this fact and this reality? So today inshallah, what I want to do is discuss some issues about death. I want to discuss when the angel of death, he comes and takes your soul, and then the progression of the soul into the grave. Because I think tomorrow's topic is the Day of Judgment, so I'll discuss these two things. But before I go into it, I think one of the main reasons why we don't think about death in this society is because everything in this society is geared to make you forget about the vital questions about life. Do you know those 3 vital questions? In this society, everything's geared to make you avoid them. Why think about that? Why think about how you got here, what you're doing here, where you're going? Enjoy yourself, go to cinemas, go and party, go and chill, hang out with your friends. All of these things are there to make you forget these vital questions. Forget about tomorrow, enjoy today. But brothers, again, death is a reality today, not tomorrow. And this is what we need to keep in our minds. So, for the Muslim, our perspective is very different. We know, that Rasulullah says in the hadith, Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min, that the dunya is a sijn, is a prison for the believers. This is how we see dunya. For us, we are like a traveller in this dunya. For us, we are strangers in this dunya. For us, this dunya is not our resting place. It's not the place where we chill out and enjoy the way the West explain it. This is not the place for it. And if you look at the angel of death, we are told that he comes and he visits us frequently. In certain places mentioned 5 times, in other places I've seen as many as 72 times a day. Brothers, do the math. If he comes and visits you 72 times a day, that's potentially, I think, once every 20 minutes or so. So right now, we came here, many of us, at 5:45, right? It's been an hour. The angel of death could have visited each and every single one of us in this room potentially 3 times. Could be on our right, could be on our left, and he's looking to Allah and saying, can I take this soul? What are you doing at that moment? What are you doing at that moment? You could be doing a number of things. Alhamdulillah, we're in a gathering that's going to be blessed, inshallah, by the malaika, by the angels. They are present here, inshallah. But you could be out partying. You could be with a girl. You could be pressing buttons on the internet. You could be disobeying your parents. You could be doing all sorts of, let's term, crap. And then the angel of death could be beside you, just ready to take your soul at that moment. And that could be your last moment. That could be your last moment. You remember it's a fact, and it's going to happen, so we must prepare for it. Rasulullah said, أَكْثَرُ مِنْ ذِكْرِ حَادِمٍ لَذَّةٍ. He said, remember often, remember frequently, the destroyer of pleasures. This is how we describe death, as a destroyer of pleasures. Remember it frequently, because it will come. And not only that, Shaitan, he gives his utmost effort for you at the final moments of your life. You think it's hard now? Waking up for Fajr, you think it's hard now? Going out when there's a girl there, you don't want a free mix, you think it's hard. He's probably giving you 50% of his attention. You're at your last moment, he's going to put all of his attention on you. Because he doesn't want to lose you. He wants to make sure you enter Jahannam. Because this is his challenge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's going to put all of his effort on you on those last moments. And there's a great example of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah, when he was on his deathbed. When he was on his deathbed, he was heard saying, not yet, not yet. And his son sitting next to him was a bit perplexed. He's like thinking, you know, Father, you've lived a good life. You've lived a righteous life. You've tried your best to live the correct way. You know, this is the time for you to go. You need to go to your Creator. You know, why are you saying not yet, not yet? And the reply of Ahmed ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, he said, this is not what I meant. The shaitan, he came to me and he said to me, oh Ahmed, you have escaped, and he bit his fingers. He said, you have escaped. And Ahmed ibn Hanbal was saying, not yet, I haven't escaped yet. I'm still alive. The soul is still in my body. I'm still in a battle with you. Until my soul has left my body, then I can relax. Then I have passed. Then I have finished the test. So we are in a battle with the shaitan till the very last moment. And our last moment needs to be the best moment. We need to die on La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. This is what we need to die on. We need to die on the good actions, the righteous actions. And this is what needs to be on our mind constantly. Okay, so what happens when the soul is taken? There's a hadith mentioned by Tamim al-Dari, and it talks about the journey of a bad soul. What happens when the angel of death comes to take the soul of a disbeliever or a sinful servant? It's mentioned, when he comes in the most awfulest forms that you can imagine. Think about the worst thing that you've ever seen in your life, or the worst type of figure, or creature, or animal that you can think of, and multiply it by 1 billion and then some. The most awfulest form that you can imagine. In this particular narration, it says it has 12 eyes. And the angel of death brings with him a forked iron rod made of fire. He's got this forked iron rod made of fire prepared for you. He doesn't come alone. He comes with an army of 500 angels with black faces. Just for you, just for your soul, just for that disbelieving soul. They bring with them copper embers of the fire of hell and whips of fire ready to beat you. This is how they come to take the soul of a disbelieving soul. They come with an army. They come in the worst forms. And there's an example narrated by Ibn Abbas when Ibrahim alayhi salam, he once asked the angel of death. He said, show me what you look like when you come to take the believing soul. And come to me when you change your form and show me what you do when you take the disbelieving soul. He said, okay. So Ibrahim alayhi salam first asked to see the form of the angel of death takes when he takes the believing soul. And what Ibrahim alayhi salam saw was a handsome young man. Beautiful face. White clothes. A beautiful smell. A beautiful aroma coming from him. And Ibrahim alayhi salam's response was, if the believer was to be deprived of every single blessing, every single ni'mah, when he was at the point of death, just seeing you like this was enough compensation. It's a great reward. Just when you come and take the believing soul. That's enough of a reward. Then he asked, can I see what you look like when you take the disbelieving soul? Here the angel of death said, you won't be able to take it. You won't be able to handle it. He warns him. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he insists. He said, okay, turn away. So as Ibrahim alayhi salam turns away, he takes this form of what he looks like when he takes the disbelieving soul. What did Ibrahim alayhi salam see? He saw a man with a black face, with a dark face. His feet in dunya and his head in the heavens. Fire coming out of his nose, coming out of his mouth, and his whole body covered in hair. This is the figure that's in front of the disbelieving soul at the point of death. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he couldn't take it. He couldn't take the sight, and he fainted. Just completely collapsed and fainted. This is how scary the figure of the angel of death was. When he gained consciousness and the angel of death had changed his form, he said, by Allah, if the disbelieving soul was not to receive any punishment at the point of death, just seeing you like this is enough punishment. It's severe enough. Let alone what's to come in the grave. Let alone what's to come in the day of judgment, in the hellfire. Just seeing you like that is enough punishment. This is how awful the angel of death will be. So the angel of death is coming. He's got fire coming out of his nose, his mouth is coming with 500 angels. He's got this forked iron rod, they've got whips of fire, and they're coming, and they're ready to take the disbelieving soul. And do you know when they come? Do you think they're going to say, Assalamu alaikum ya akhi, how are you? Can I take your soul? No. They've got a job to do. They come to take your soul. So when they come, he brings this forked iron rod, and then he smashes you and he pierces your body with it. and he hits you with such force that this forked iron rod hits every vein, every joint, every muscle. Well, trust me, you will feel the pain. The disbelieving soul will feel the pain. Imagine you're getting pierced by this iron rod, and it's going all throughout your body and hitting every joint. This is what happens to the disbelieving soul. Then the angel of death, he makes it worse. He then twists the rod. Imagine having a knife inside, and then they start twisting and turning it. This is what he does. Because he's preparing for the soul to be taken out of the body. And the soul at this point is trying to escape. It doesn't want to go, because it knows where it's going. It knows where it's going. It wants to escape. It wants to hide. It's trying to escape. But there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. Then the angel of death, he says to the soul, Ya ayyuhal khabith, he says, O you evil soul, come out to the punishment of Allah and His anger. When the soul is taken out, Rasulullah describes, he gives an analogy. He says, imagine you've got a branch and it's got thorns in it. And then wrap it with a piece of wool that's wet. Now imagine trying to yank that branch out of that piece of wool. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's going to take pieces of the wool with it. It won't come out smoothly. This is how the soul is taken from the disbeliever. It's yanked out, ripped out, as if your skeleton is taken out your mouth without, and your body is remaining intact. This is how it's taken out. What happens after that? There's a hadith by Al-Bara ibn Azim. He talks about the journey of the soul. And it's a long hadith. And he says, as soon as the angel of death has taken the soul, it's barely in his hands when the other angels, they grab him. They grab the soul. And they wrap it with a coarse cloth. And the most awful smell is coming from this soul. And they're preparing to take it and ascend it and take it into the heavens. As they're taking it, each time they're trying to take it across, they come across a group of angels. And then the angels ask, who is this soul? What is this soul? Who is this foul and evil soul? They say, this is so-and-so, the son of so-and-so. And all of the malaika, all of the angels curse this soul. And they give him the worst name that were given to him in dunya. When they arrive at the lowest heaven, they ask permission for the gates to be opened. But the permission isn't given. The permission isn't given. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he's narrating the hadith, at this moment he recited the ayah in Surah Al-Araf verse 40. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا عَنْهَا لَا تُفَتَّحُ لَهُمْ أَبْوَابُ السَّمَاءِ وَلَا يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ حَتَّى يَلِجَ الْجَمَلُ فِي سَمِّ الْخِيَاطِ وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُجْرِمِينَ. And he said, verily, those who belie our ayat and treat them with arrogance, for them the gates of the heavens will not be open. They will never be open. And they will not enter paradise until the camel goes through the eye of the needle, just to recompense the criminals. Basically saying, this soul will never enter the gates of heaven, or will enter when the camel goes through the eye of a needle. Brothers, can you picture a needle? That little opening where you put in the thread, when your mum says, oh, put this in for me. Until a camel can go through that, that's when the soul can go through to the heaven. Will that ever happen? No. There's no permission granted. And at this point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, place his record and then return him back to the earth. Because I have promised my creation that they came from earth and I return them back to it and resurrect them once again. And how do you think the soul is taken back? Do you think it's carried down nicely? It's choked down. And it's choked down with force. And then the soul will feel the pain. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at this point, he recited the ayah of Quran and said, "Hunafa lillahi ghayra mushrikina bihi wa man yushrik billahi faka'annama kharra min as-sama'i fatakhtafu at-tayru aw tahwi bihi ar-rihu fi makanin sahih." He said, and whoever ascribes partners with Allah, it is as though he had fallen from the sky such that birds snatch him or the wind throws him to a remote place. So basically, this soul is going to be chucked down with such force that the body will feel it. And when you return back into your body, this is when your burial process is taking place. And you can see what's going on. And you can see what's happening. And you're so fearful, you're so frightened. But you know what's coming and you can't stop it. And you don't want anyone to leave. They're burying you, you want people to stay. You don't want them to go. The question I'll ask all of you here is, who wants to be this man? Who wants to be this soul? This is the soul of a man who definitely doesn't have iman. The soul of a man who potentially could be a sinful servant, a munafiq amongst the hypocrites. Who wants to be that person? This iman that we just think is so cheap. It's just been given to us by our parents. This is the thing that's going to save you. We need to cherish it. Let's look at the flip side. I don't want to just focus on the bad bits. Let's look at the flip side. Let's compare that to the journey of a believing soul. And the journey of a soul of somebody who attempted to do righteous things in their life. And the same hadith by Al-Bara ibn Azib, he describes the journey of a good soul. He says when the believing soul is taken, the angels come, and this time the angels have white faces, and they're bright like the sun. And they carry with them burial sheets and scents from paradise. You know, early on, my brother was given atar, and another brother gave it a better one to him, and he's like, damn, mine's crap. Just think about the sense of paradise. You know, this is nothing. Think about your Hugo Boss, your Armani, all of these great smells that you can get. You know, Brother Azaz's always smelling, you know, mashallah. But think about even greater, another level. You're going to be wrapped with these sheets, and they're scents from paradise. This is the contrast, this is the comparison. And they sit, when they come, they sit in front of him at the distance, as far as the eye can see. And then the angel of death comes and sits on his head, and then says to the person, Ya ruhun mutma'inna. He says, oh good soul, come out to your Lord's forgiveness and pleasure. So to the bad soul, come out to his anger and wrath. To the good soul, come out to his pleasure and his forgiveness. Rasul continues. He said, when the soul is taken out, again look at the contrast. We had the branch and the wood, right? This time, the soul is taken out like water from a jug. Imagine pouring some water out and how smoothly the water falls into your glass, yeah? Think of your soul coming out like that. Nice and smooth. This is how the believer's soul is taken out. And as soon as the soul reaches the hands, the angels grab it, just like with the non-believing soul. But this time, they don't grab it to curse it. This time they supplicate and they bless the soul. And they wrap it with these fragrant winding sheets. And this is what is meant in the ayah of Quran in Surah Al-An'am verse 61. توَفَّتْ رُسُلُنَا وَهُمْ لَا يُفَرِّطُونَ. It says, oh, our messengers, talking about the angels, they seize the soul and they do not fall short of their duty. Meaning that the angels, they take the soul and they guard it and they take it where it's supposed to go. So either in Sijil or the Illiyin. So whether the good deeds are placed or the bad deeds are placed. So Rasulullah he continued and he said, the soul has a beautiful smell. And we all love to smell nice. Some of us are luckier than others, yeah, but we all like to smell nice. And you're going to be smelling nice, and that your soul will emit a beautiful smell. And each time it passes the angels, think about it, passing the angels, and the angels are inquiring, you know, what is this beautiful soul? You know, who is this? We want to be that soul. Saying, who is this soul? And then the other angels are saying, this is so-and-so, the son of so-and-so. You're getting praised, and your parents are getting praised. Then it ascends to the heavens, so it's granted access. And it goes to the seventh heaven, and then Allah SWT says, place his record, and then in the Illiyin, and this is mentioned in Surah Mutaffifin, where Allah SWT says, كَلَّا إِنَّ كِتَابَ الْأَبْرَارِ لَفِي إِلِّيِّينَ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا إِلِّيُّونَ كِتَابٌ مَرْقُومٌ يَشْهَدُهُ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ. He's talking about Al-Abrar, the righteous, you know, the good believers, and talking about how their record is placed in the Illiyin, which is like a register. And that it talks about how the righteous, the Al-Abrar, will be in delight. This is what it's meant by it. So the person's record is placed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes an announcement and says, look, return him back to the earth, because I created man from earth, and I promise that he will return to it, and I will resurrect him once again. So then the angels carry down the soul. They don't chuck it, they carry it down. They take care, and they place it back into the body. You're being buried. And you can see what's going on. What happens after this? Second stage is the grave. And Uthman ibn Affan, radiallahu anhu, if he hears death or he hears anything, he wouldn't cry as much as when he was standing near a grave. When he was standing at a grave, he would cry so much that his beard would become wet. And when he was asked why, he would say, because this is the beginning steps of the akhirah. This is the first steps. This is why it made him cry so much. Rasulullah told us that from everything that he has seen, the grave is the worst. There's nothing worse than that, from what he has seen. And there's an example in Bukhari mentioned by Asma bint Abi Bakr. And once Rasulullah was given a khutbah, and he was talking about death, and he was talking about the angel of death. And as he was talking, think about the companions, they were just in tears. Because the words of Rasulullah, the Quran and the Hadith, back then the sayings of Rasulullah had such power. To the point when the ayahs of the Quran were revealed, companions would just faint. An ayah was revealed once and a companion, he just fainted. Another companion just passed, he just died. That's how much it hit them, it pierced their soul and their hearts. So Rasulullah was speaking, and then the companions, the Sahaba, they were crying. So much so that Asma bint Abi Bakr, she couldn't hear what Rasulullah was saying at the end. So later on she inquired, and she said, what was it that Rasulullah was saying? And he was trying to show the severity of the grave, the trials of the grave. And he was saying that, look, the biggest trial and the biggest fitna that the Ummah will ever go through is the fitna of the Dajjal. This is the worst. And everyone amongst the Anbiya have made dua and have warned their people against the Dajjal. And so has Rasulullah. And then he compares that fitna, that trial, to the trial of the grave. He says, look, it's as bad or even worse. This is how serious it is. It's a serious matter. Rasulullah also said that if the people, because all of creation can hear the screams of the grave apart from the insan. So we can't hear it. And if we could hear it, if we were allowed to hear it, we wouldn't bury our dead. This is what Rasulullah feared. We would stop burying our dead. So when you enter your grave, and it's mentioned that, when the last person has walked away 40 steps or an animal is slaughtered, you are met by two angels, Munkar and Nakir, two black and white angels. And when these angels come at you, they scream at the person. They shock and surprise the person. Their conversation isn't polite. They're tough. They expect strong and assured answers. And they'll come to everyone like this. They don't mess about. They don't joke. They're not here to give you comfort. They're here to test you. And the final test of a believer is what? Is in the grave. It's a final test. And brothers, if you ever wanted a test in your life, if you ever wanted your final year 3 uni exam to get your degree to be a test, you'd want it to be this test, in theory. What is the test? What are the questions? Man Rabbuk, wa ma dinuk, wa man nabiyuk. Who is your Lord, what is your deen, and who is your Nabi? Who answers that? You're chumping out of our mouths. Yeah, I know the answer to that. But what about on the day when it's not your mind that will be speaking, but it's your heart that will be speaking. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reveal whether you're sincere or whether you are pure blagger. Whether you're sincere or whether you're pure blagger. This is how difficult it will be on the day. So when they come, they will ask those questions. Yeah? And the non-believer, he won't know. He'll say, hi, I don't know. I heard people say this, and then he will say it. And he has no surety in his answer. As soon as the angels hear this, they smack him with a hammer with such force that he turns into dust. And this hammer is described in the narrations as being so heavy that if all of the insan and jinn were to try to lift it up, they won't be able to lift it. And you're going to be smacked with this hammer, disbelieving soul. And you'll turn to dust. And then you'll come back. You have to give straight answers. And an announcement will be made by Allah that he's a liar. And his grave will be furnished from hellfire. His clothes will be from hellfire. A gate will be opened to hellfire. There's a direct connection between your grave and the hellfire. And an evil and ugly looking person will then come. And the most horrible smells will come from him. And you will say, what in the world? Who are you? What kind of evil looking person are you? And then the evil looking person will say to you, I am your bad deeds. And I will spend the days with you until the day of judgment. I'll be your companion in the grave. Who wants the companion in the grave to be that person? That ugly, evil, bad smelling person. So come to me. And this will be your companion. The two windows will be open. One to Jannah and the other one to the hellfire. You can see your place in hellfire. And you can see what you missed out on. Why the hell did I do all these things? A few pleasures here and there that lasted a short amount of time. Why? Why? I can see what I've missed out on. I can see Jannah. I can see hellfire. I can see the black fire. Why the hell did I do it? What was the point? And this bit hits me every single time. Do you know what the disbelieving soul will say? He will say, Ya Rab, la tuqim as-sa'a. He will say, Oh Lord, do not let the day of judgment come. Don't let it come. Because I know what's coming. I know I'm going to be punished for everything that I did, for disbelieving in you. Please don't let it come. But it's going to come. You can't stop it. Everything that your soul earned, you will get it in Jahannam. All those bad things that it did, you can't stop it. What about for the believer? Or for the person, not just the believer, a believer who tried his best and worked righteous deeds. An announcement will be made that he spoke the truth. He spoke the truth. And his grave will be furnished from paradise. And his clothes will be given from paradise. And a gate will be opened to him to paradise. Direct connection. The believer, he can see his place in Jannah. And the believer, he is met by a man who has a very pleasant face. Beautiful smell coming from him. Very pleasant looking person. And they say, who are you? He say, I am your good deeds. And I will be your companion in the grave until the day of judgment. I am your companion. Then 2 windows again will be open, and he can see his place in Jannah. And he can see what he escaped only by the mercy of Allah. He can see what he escaped. And then what does he say to Allah? Look at the contrast. Ya Rab, aqim as-sa'a. Bring the day of judgment. Bring it. Because I want to go to my wealth and my family. But not the wealth and the family in dunya. My wealth and my family in Jannah. This is what I want. I want all the pleasures of Jannah. Bring it now. But obviously, you can't go until the time comes. Now, the question is, will the believing souls receive punishment in the grave? Because potentially you could think, I'm alright. I'm okay. I believe in Allah. I believe in the angels. I believe in all that. So, I'm okay. I'm going to be sailing through this. But potentially, each and every single one of us in this room could receive punishment in the grave. And there's some examples. So the first one is shortcomings in general. If you have fallen short, it's going to be a cleansing process, you're going to be punished. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that that's none of us. Other reasons, specific reasons. Theft, cheating. You know, if you guys have stolen something, or taken something that's not yours, these are one of the things that can get you punishment in the grave. And there's an example of the servant of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was preparing the saddle of the camel of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and a stray arrow, and they were preparing for war, a stray arrow hit him, and then he passed away. And all of the companions were like, Alhamdulillah, pure Jannati right there, Shaheed, he's gone straight to paradise. And they were all praising him. And Rasulullah said, no. So this man is being punished in the grave with the cloak that he stole in Khaybar. From the booty, he took a piece of cloth without telling anybody. That's all he took, a piece of cloth. And that cloth is wrapped around him in the grave, burning him. This is what Rasulullah said. See how carefully we have to analyze everything that we do. And we have to ask Allah and make repentance for everything. Okay, this is a theft, but think about all the other small things that we do. Because sometimes we can think we're escaping the big things, but it's the small things that come and get us. We need to be mindful of everything. So theft is the first reason. The second and third reason, slander and not cleaning yourself after you go to the bathroom. Rasulullah said once he stood by a grave and he said these two graves are being punished. You know why? So the first one was somebody who was a slanderer. He used to slander people and he used to cause fitna and disunity amongst the people. He used to speak bad of people and he's been punished. How many times have we spoken bad of people or slandered somebody? Allah forgive us. Not cleaning yourself after the bathroom. SubhanAllah, we take small things for granted. You know, even in this society, even the Muslims are starting to get lazy with this kind of thing. We need to be mindful of Islam from the smallest thing to the largest thing. Rasulullah has governed what you do in the bathroom and how you run a state. He's given you everything. We need to be mindful of that. The next few reasons are all given in one long hadith mentioned in Bukhari. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would gather with his companions after Fajr, and he would ask any of them if they had a dream. So he would say, did you have a dream? And they would tell him, and then he'd interpret the dream. So one time after Fajr, he asked, have any of you seen a dream? And they all said no. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, I have seen a dream. And then he explained the dream. He said that I was taken by two men, and I was taken to a place. And in this place, I saw a man sitting, he was sitting down, and someone was throwing iron hooks in his mouth. And he was tearing his mouth apart, and it was coming out the other end. Imagine you got a piece of like a wire with a hook on it, and chuck it in your mouth, and it's literally ripping the whole insides of your mouth, and it's coming out the other end. This is what Rasulullah said. When Rasulullah saw this, he was so shocked, he said, what is this? So who is this? And then the angels didn't say anything, or whoever he was with didn't say anything, and they took him to another place. In the second place, he saw a man lying down. He was lying down on his back, and there was a man standing over him, and he would throw a rock that would crush his head. And then after he would crush his head, the rock would roll away. And as the person would go to pick up the rock, the head would then grow back, and then he'd do it again. So he was shocked, what's this? They didn't say anything. They moved on to the next one. Then they passed by something that looked like an oven. And it was shaped like a cone. So the people inside were getting burnt by the fire. As they tried to escape, they kept rolling back in. And they were getting punished. Again, Rasulullah asked, what is this? They didn't answer. Then he saw a man that was in a river of blood. And he was swimming to the shore, and as he gets to the shore, there's a man on the shore with a rock, and he chucks the rock in his mouth and throws him back into the river. And he's not letting him off the river of blood. Then he saw a beautiful garden. And in this beautiful garden was a man, an old man, and next to the old man were loads of children. And next to them was a man that was igniting fire and making it burn more in his hands. Then they took him to a room. And they saw a tree, they took him to a room, and in that room were old and young men and women, and the room was so beautiful, as Rasul said, that I've never seen anything like this in my life. Then they took him to another room, and the second room was even better than the first. And so subhanAllah, I thought the first one was good, the second one is even better. And in the second room were men, old and young. Then they took him to an even greater room, and this room was even more amazing than the first two. What was their meaning of the dream? I was supposed to give the answers. He said, the first one with the hooks tearing them out, this was a man that spread lies. And he spread lies in such a manner that it would just pass to everybody, as if it would go around the world. We need to be mindful of our tongues. The second man that was lying down and was getting crushed, this one hit him quite hard. So he learned the Quran, but he didn't follow it at all. And he didn't recite it during the night. This Quran that we take for granted, that we recite, that's just words, we weren't mindful of it. We didn't follow it. We didn't obey it. We chose which parts to follow. We didn't recite it. We weren't close to it. We didn't have that connection with it. The thing that's going to elevate us, do you know, the Quran will come as an intercessor for you on the Day of Judgment. And your ranks will be raised, or you will be dropped based on the Quran. Who's going to be a better person to make a case for you than Allah's words? And imagine those words come and say, he recited me. He took care of me. He was mindful of what he did in his life. And he followed my guidance. Or, he abandoned me. He left me on the top shelf. He did worse than what the soldiers do and urinating on it. He didn't obey it. Think about it. You're going to be raised, potentially, by the Quran. It's going to come as an intercessor and make a case for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't argue against his own words. Inshallah. The third one, the oven. Those who committed adultery and fornication. It's a dangerous thing. A big thing. Many of us, unfortunately, we're living in a reality where the Muslims are even doing this. Muslims are doing this. It's a reality amongst the Muslims. And not only that, you might think, okay, fair enough, I haven't done those two things, but we know that Rasul has told us all about the steps that lead to it as well, the dangers of them. And in the past we've had circles about, this clicking on the internet, wiping away your history on the internet, so no one sees what you've done. or whether it's on Facebook, or whatever it is. Whether it's chilling in the library with a girl, and it's free mixing with her, going out with her, being a girlfriend, and she's your lover, then all of these things. You need to be mindful of these things. The fourth one, the river of blood, was a person who took riba, interest. Dealing with interest is such a big crime in Islam. That on the Day of Judgment, Allah SWT says that you declare war with Allah and His Rasul, and you're given weapons to fight them. Who wants to fight with Allah and His Rasul? Dangerous thing. The fifth, the old man near the tree, was Ibrahim a.s. The children were the people who had died before the age of maturity. The person that was starting the fire was Malik, the gatekeeper of hellfire. The first room was for all of the believers, men and women, old and young. The second room was for the shuhada, was for those who died shaheed. And then the final room, that was for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Final two reasons: debt. This can prevent you from entering Jannah, but also you get punished in the grave for it. It's one of those things that many of us we just take lightly, because this is a debt within society. You're expected to be in debt. And after university, the majority of the people should be about 20k in debt. That's normal. But for Muslims, we take this seriously. And the final reason is excessive weeping. That if your family or friends were to weep excessively, the people in the grave, they would feel discomfort and pain from it. And Umar ibn Khattab, he warned the people when he saw people crying, stop it. Because the people in the grave will be having discomfort. So brothers, this is roughly the journey that a soul goes through. From death, when the soul is taken, to the grave. This reality that we can't escape is going to happen to each and every single one of us. Old, young, rich, poor, whoever we are. The reason I wanted to go through all of this was just to make it clear to you which soul do you want to be. Because it's going to happen. How do you want it to happen? Do you want it to happen in the most awfulest way, with a bad soul, where your destination is Jahannam and the hellfire? Or do you want the outcome of the good soul? The one that worked hard, did righteous deeds, and gets the good things from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that requires work, and it's not easy. It's not easy. It requires that you cherish your iman. That thing that you have is the biggest gift that you were given. There are brothers who have had to reject all of the kufr and then accept Islam and come to the deen. And then there's brothers who have been given it and granted it and just take it lightly, like it's nothing. What's Muslim, innit? That's our attitude. But this iman is the thing that's going to protect us. It's going to save us. Why do we take it so lightly? We need to be like Salman al-Farsi, the person who struggled 25, 30 years to get that correct belief. And then when he had it, he held on to it. And he cherished it. He knew it was something great. It was the biggest gift that he was given. And it's the biggest gift that we were given. We need to scrutinize, think about it. Secondly, think about the work that's required for you to get where you need to be. This dunya isn't for play. You need to do good deeds. What Allah said in the Quran, Surah Mulk, الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Now Allah SWT has tested you to see who is in the best in their deeds. This is what Allah SWT has done. That's why He's created you, to test you. So we need to be mindful of all of these things, and we need to try our utmost to be of those who work to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we want to be those who are given the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we want to be those who are prevented from reaching the fitna of the grave and the fitna of the dying soul and the trials and tribulations that they go through. We want to be of those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises their life. This is who we want to be. Let's all make dua that we are amongst them, inshallah. And Jazakallah for listening. If I made any mistakes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. Wa akhiru da'wana, and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.